Hey guys, so this video is part of a multi-part series I'm doing on how to build your own home automation controller. The things I'm going to do in this video probably won't work if you haven't followed the previous steps, so click the first line in the description. There's a link to the playlist where all of the videos are. So anyways, this video is about MQTT and ACL. And ACL stands for Access Control List. In previous tutorials, I've showed you how to install MQTT, but this time I'm going to allow you to install it using with the ACL plugin, which allows you to control who is able to do what, which is important when you're building automation system, because you want certain devices to be able to control everything, certain devices to have limited control, and this also helps improve security. So let's move into the video. This is probably the hardest part of building your own automation controller, is actually installing this. I found it was super tricky since all the documentation was out of date or non-existent, but after doing like research and stuff, I finally made it work. So I feel like the easiest way for you to follow me is to see me run a command, then pause the video, copy the command from the description, paste it in on your terminal, run it, and when it's done running, come back to the video. And just keep in mind that some of these commands will take a really long time, like 15 to 20 minutes to run. So let's go ahead. So you basically, before you start installing MQTT, in our case, we're going to be using the Mosquitto broker. We're going to need to do a couple things. And that's basically just install some tools to allow us to actually build MQTT, because we have to build it ourselves. So the first tool is this one over here, where I just pasted it in. And yes, you just have to paste that in your Pi and let it install. So I'll get back to you when it's done installing. Okay, so now that it's done, we're going to be installing another tool, which is this tool over here. Okay, that one looked like it worked. Okay, the next thing we need to do is install a compiler, which is that one over there. And then we have to install another compiler. And then we need to install github, which is that link over there. Okay, so once that's done, we need to install another thing, which is make. Install one more thing, which is this sudo dialog. Okay, so once all that's done, the next thing we need to do is create a user account for Mosquitto. So you do that with no home directory and basically just a system account. And so you do that by adding that command. And then what I want to do is I want to run this just this update command, which is just going to update the lists of where all the files are. I like to do this from time to time just to make sure things updated, but I redid it in one of the previous tutorials, so it should be fine. Okay, so now that's done, what you need to do is install a couple more things, which you do by just putting that command in there and then having to say yes. Okay, so now that's done, what we're going to do is we're actually going to download Mosquitto, but we need to use a particular version, which in our case is version 1.3.5. So to do that, you just put in this command and it downloads it. And then it comes as a zip file. So what we need to do is unzip it. And so to do that, we have to run this command. There we go, it's done. And now it would have created a folder. And we just need to go in that folder, and you do that by putting in that command over there. So now what we have to do is we have to open up the configuration for MQTT. For the Mosquitto MQTT browser. And to do that, you just use that command. There we go. And in here, we need to actually find, which you can do by pushing Control-W. It will give up this little, like, say, search at the bottom. And you need to find this word called SVR. And we need to just go in there. And we need to turn SVR to no. So we hit, and then you just hit Control-O to save, hit Enter. You're done. So then, what we're going to do is we're going to make Mosquitto by running that command. Oh, and it failed. Because it's saying there's no S. Okay, so that failed because there is no SSL installed. So let's do this. Just go CD to go back. Okay, there we go. And then we need to download SSL, OpenSSL in this case. So use this command, which is right there, that one over there. And again, obviously all of these commands will be put in the description because it's way easier to copy that way. So now I first downloaded it, and then I downloaded the MD5, and I'll show you why we're going to do that now. So we're going to then run the command, which is going to generate an MD5 of the file, and then we're going to actually open the MD5 we downloaded. And if they match, so if this code and this code matches, that means that everything was downloaded successfully, which is awesome. So then I need to extract, because OpenSSL arrived in a zip file, or like a compressed file. So I just extracted it by putting in that command over there. As you can see, it's this, you just put that in and it'll extract it. So then what we need to do is we need to open up the directory, the SSL directory. There we go. I did that by just putting in that command over there. And then we're going to actually tell it to configure by putting in that command. It's going to go and try and configure everything. So this is going to take a while, so I'll get back to you when it is done. Okay, so it's done, and what we're going to do is we're going to put in, the next command we have to run is make, which is going to try and compile it. And this is going to take a really long time, but it's actually going to fail. So let's wait for that. Wow, that took a long time. Well, at least we're back, and the next thing we have to do is just go type in this command. Okay, so you need to put in sudo make install _sw. Okay, so once that's installed, we can actually check it by running this command, and we'll see it says openssl 1.0.0c, which is the one exact version we need, because as of right now, the ACLS plugin for Mosquitto doesn't support any other version of openssl. Okay, so we need to go back to Mosquitto, so you do that by going cd, hitting enter, and then we can go to cd Mosquitto, and you can see we've opened the Mosquitto directory. So now we need to make Mosquitto, which is what we tried to do earlier, but that failed. Okay, so before we can compile Mosquitto, we need to install something, which is called sudo apt-get install. It's libssl-dev, which is just like a dev package for SSL. And so we're going to do that, and that's going to install. It's going to ask if we want to install. You say yes. We can come back once this is done. Okay, so that is done. So now we can try and make make Mosquitto. So let's go sudo make, and let's see what happens. This is going to take a while, so I'll come back once it's done. Okay, so once that is done, we need to go sudo make install. And there we go. Mosquitto is now installed. So next what we need to do is we need to get the plugin for Mosquitto. So let's do that by running that command. Okay, so that's downloaded. And we also need to get another package which is going to help support that plugin. So that we do by getting that. There we go. Okay, so now what we can do is okay, so now we're going to install hiredis. So we've downloaded already, so let's go into the directory by running that command over there. And then we're just going to hit make. And we'll come back once this is done. Okay, so now it's done. So then what we need to do is we need to run the next command, which is sudo make install. So let's just run that. And done. Okay, so let's go back by going cd. Okay, so what you need to do is we need to go back into the Mosquitto directory by going like so. And then once we're in there, we need to put in this command, because we downloaded that file in there earlier. So let's hit enter. Boom. And okay, so once we're in the directory, what we need to do is we're going to need to copy the config by just doing that. So we're just making a backup of the config, and then we need to open it. So let's open it. Boom. And now there's just a few things we need to change in here. Where it says mosquitto source, we need to change that to include the link to the source, which is that. So just make sure that yours matches that exactly. I'll have that entire line put in the description. And then on the open SSR, we need to put in this. So let me just get there. And that's what it needs to be. And so I will put this entire line in the description for you. Okay, so one thing you're going to need to do is just make sure that there's no spaces or anything, so that it must just end with L, and that's it. If there's a space or anything after this, it actually won't work. So let's hit Control O to save, hit enter, and then Control X to exit. Okay, and then what you need to do is just type in the word make. And there we go. This is going to take a while, so I'll come back once it's done. Okay, so you'll see that this actually fails. And when it fails, you need to run this command, which I've put in the description. So paste that in there, hit enter, and it's going to run. And there we go. It's done. So now we should be able to run make again, and it should end successfully. Sweet. So then the next thing we need to do is we need to move the plugin we just made into the Mosquitto directory, and you do that by putting in that command, hit enter, and now what we need to do is we need to actually move the config for Mosquitto. So you do that by hitting that command, hit enter. Okay, and then we need to open the config to configurate Mosquitto. So you do that by putting in that command, which will be in the description because I know you didn't see that. Okay, so then what you're going to do is you're going to go Control W to bring up the search. You're going to search for auth plugin. You hit enter, and here you can navigate down to this blank spot, and where that is, you need to paste in this, and this will be in the description. Paste that in there. Okay, so here where it says random string is going to be your password. So what I would do is, if you have a password generator, I would ask it just to generate in a string for you. So let's do that. So I'm going to generate a secure password. Okay, so the string that my number generator generated was that, and so I would just, I would use any online number generator or anything like that, just generate. That's the string. So that's going to be the password. So that's the user account password. Obviously, I will be changing this once this video is over because I don't want you to know that, my password. And everything else, you should be able to leave just how it is. So then you can go Control O and hit enter. Boom, and you wrote it out, push exit, and you'll exit. So now what we can do is we can quickly test to see if it's going to work. It won't actually work because we haven't configured the database, but it should run and then just tell us there's an error. And there we go. That's exactly what we wanted. So it looks like the plugin is actually, check it out, the plugin's running, but then it says access denied for that user. So we need to go and create an account for it. So to just close this, you go Control C and it will stop. So then what you need to do is open up a web browser and go to, the address of your Pi and go to PHPMYADMIN like you did in the previous video I made. So once you open up PHPMYADMIN, it's going to look like this. Obviously, you're going to go with your root and then the password that you chose in the previous tutorial. And hit enter. Okay. So now what you want to do is you want to go to databases, and in here you want to create a new database, and we called it Home Automation Controller. Okay, it's collection, click create. Boom, it's created. Then over here you can click on it, or over here on the side, click on it, and it'll be like, hey, there's no table. Okay, so we need to create a table. We actually need to create two tables. The one is called MQTT users, and the other one's called MQTT ACLs. So you put in MQTT users. Number of columns is going to be 4. Hit enter. So 4 is fine. We can leave that. Hit a go. Okay, and the first one is going to be called ID. The second one is going to be called username. This one is going to be called PW, and this one is going to be called super. Okay, so this is just an int of a value of 1. This one is going to be a voucher 100, and the username is going to be a voucher of 100 again. That just basically means it's 100 characters of any characters, and then the integer over here is going to be 10, which means 10 characters, which if you think about it is a lot of numbers. So the next thing we need to do is you need to bring this smaller a little bit. Let me just make this smaller so we can get the scroll bar at the bottom of the screen. There we go. You're going to use the scroll bar. Going to have to go over here, and where it says AI, you need to tick that. And here on the index, you need to click on and say primary key. That basically means that like it's going to use the ID column as the index. So it's going to, and then the AI stands for auto increment. So every time we insert something into this table, it will automatically make the next ID. Like on an Excel spreadsheet, on the side, you have those numbers, right? The row numbers. So we're just setting up that ID is going to be the row numbers essentially, and that must automatically generate numbers for us. And so then you click save. Boom, we're done. So now we need to go back here to the HAC, and in here we need to create another table, and this one's going to be called MQTT ACLs. So let's do that. Boom, and again that is going to be 4 columns. It's basically pretty simple, pretty similar actually. ID, this is going to be 10, and we can go so long actually just fill this in. So it's going to be, whoops, not there. Next one, it's going to be primary and auto index. Then the next one is going to be called username. So sounds familiar as the other one, username. And then it's going to be topic. And then it is going to be RW, which stands for read write. So this one's going to be integer of 1. The topic is going to be a voucher 1000, and the username is going to be voucher 100. And that is it. Hit save. Boom, so we have our 2 tables, which is pretty awesome. Okay, so now what we need to do is create a user account for these 2 tables, so that this thing we're building, the MQTT broker, can access this, because right now it doesn't have access to these tables. So we're going to go to privileges up here, and we're going to say add user, and in the username field we have to put in what we put in on the other page, which was MQTT user is going to be our user. So let's put in MQTT user. Host, we can we can change that to local, because the server, the MySQL database and the MQTT broker is on the same machine, so use local. And then in the password section, we're going to put in that password that we used earlier. You know, the one we generated with the random number generator or random password generator. You can also, if you're doing this in different order, you can actually hit generate here and it will generate one for you, but since we've already actually set up, we're going to be using that one, and you don't have to put it in there. You just have to put your password in there and there. So what we're going to do is we're going to say just grant all privileges on database HAC, and we just need to say select, and that's it. Like, it doesn't need to be able to create or change, because it's not going to be doing any of that. It's just going to be reading the data. So we just say select, and you just say go. Boom. Okay, and if you want to, what you can do is actually click on here. Whoops, let's say never to that. You can click on here, and on this you can go to privileges, and you can actually see if it's got access to it, and it says it does. So, yep, users having access to this table, and you'll see on that page it will say it does have access. It's got select access. So now if we go back here and we rerun that command and hit enter, it should be boom. We don't get this error message that said access denied. So that means your MQTT broker is running with ACLS. However, there's no user accounts, as you can see in these tables. There is nothing. They're both empty. So there's no user account, so you actually won't be able to connect to your MQTT server as you don't have a user account. So what we're going to do is we need to go into how to make a user account. And it is actually pretty simple. What we need to do is go back here, and I'm going to close this server, shut it down by going Control-C. Well, in a previous video, I showed you how to use screen. So what you could do is just go sudo screen -s, name it MQTT, hit enter, and this is your screen. You know, paste in that command that we put in there earlier. Let me just find it. There we go. That command. And then it will be running, and then go Control-AD to get out of that, so we can go back and do some other stuff. So inside here, if you put ls, which is like list the files, you'll see there's actually a program in here called np over there. So if you go ./np, it should run, and it will say enter a password. So now what you can do is you're going to put in a password. In this case, I'm going to put in 1234, and then enter 1234, boom. And then you get this key at this like string that comes out, and this string will be different. Even if you put in password 1234 1234, it's not going to come out as this. It's going to come out something different, which is pretty cool. So this is a hash. So this is basically an encrypted version of the password. And so what we need to do is take this encrypted version and put it back in. We'll put it inside of here. So let's go into that and say insert. And so under username, I'm going to put in Shane, because that's my name, and I'm going to put in the password, which is that string. And then under super basically means it's a super user. It can access every single topic on the server, and since I'm a boss, I want that to be me. If you do this to 0, then what happens is the next table, the MQTT ACLS, will actually come into play. If you do 1, it basically bypasses that table, and this account has access to everything. So ideally, you wouldn't do this. I would use a 0. So let's actually use a 0, but for testing purposes, like if you're building something, it's easier just to have a couple accounts that are super accounts, so that you can just, run tests and then add security later. But obviously, if anyone gets the username and password for your account, they'll have access to everything on your automation system. So keep that in mind when creating test accounts. So I'm actually going to make this a 0, and then I'll show you how to do ACLS. Okay, so we're done. So we know the username is Shane. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to this MQTT ACLS, and we're going to say insert. And under the username, we're going to say Shane. And then under the topic, I'm going to go with testing is going to be my topic. So if you know anything about MQTT, which you don't because I haven't mentioned it yet, this is a topic, and I'll explain to you in the next video how MQTT and everything works when we start building Python scripts that talk to the broker. And then in here, you basically have a couple options. Well, actually not really. You have a 1 or a 2. So 1 means I can read, and 2 means I can write. That's basically it. So I'm going to make it that I can write into there, so that in the next video, I'll show you how to write and read from testing. So hit go, and done. So now we actually have, if you go back here, you'll see we have 1 user account, and we have 1 ACLS. And so you actually need to create an ACLS entry for every single topic, for every single user account, which could be time consuming, but I'll show you in later videos how to basically automate it, that when you create accounts, it automatically creates a set of rules. Okay, so that is basically how MQTT works, and MQTT and ACLS. So now I have a user account, in here, which is called Shane, and the password is 1234. So if you download an MQTT app on your phone or anything like that, and you type in the IP address as for the server in there, and you put in Shane and your password or 1234, it would work. Obviously, when you're building this for yourself, you're not going to use the username Shane, and you're not going to use password 1234, I would hope. So yeah, that's about it for this video. In the next video, I'll be showing you how to create a Python script that will actually connect to this broker. Thank you very much for watching it. If you liked this video, thumbs it up. If you didn't, thumbs it down. And I hope you enjoyed it. Goodbye.